They were talking about the harvest, logistics, scheduling, nothing more dramatic than figuring a face that could not hide a single thing it was feeling. That clip has now been watched, shared, and clipped more than almost anything else this show has produced in 5 years, and it deserves every second of attention it is getting. But the moment everyone has been sharing is only the beginning of the story. Because what Kaleb said after those cameras stopped rolling, in his own words, on the same day those episodes dropped, that is the part most people watching have not caught yet. And there is an update to this story that almost nobody sharing that viral clip knows about. We are going to get to that too. But first, you need to understand who Kaleb Cooper actually is to Jeremy Clarkson. Because it is easy to watch 5 seasons of television and assume the relationship is mostly a comic format. The blunt farm manager correcting the posh television presenter, the straight man, and the punchline. That was never the whole truth, and the cancer scene is the moment the show finally could not hide the rest of it.
Divorce.
Kaleb
My
did
mum
not
and
come
myself
from a
went this
farming
way,
family.
and my brother and my dad went this way. Therefore, it split the family in half. And at the time, my mum just recently set up a mobile dog grooming business, where she would turn up at someone's house, plug into their electric, and groom their dog. Now, business was going so good. Within 2 months of my 13th birthday, I had 450 chickens. It got busy quite quickly. Them little fuckers right there. Now, the reason I did this was because I thought to myself, I know. If I buy these sheep as I'm walking around with my egg basket, I could also take a shoulder of lamb and some lamb chops, and it worked.
He studied agriculture at college, then started his own farm contracting business while he was still barely out of his teens. One of the farms on his books belonged to a man who had just decided, somewhat famously, to stop being a television presenter and start being a farmer instead. Kaleb had actually worked that same land years earlier, before Jeremy ever bought it. So when Clarkson's farm began filming in 2019, Kaleb was not a hired actor playing a country character for laughs. He was the only person on that farm who actually knew what he was doing, brought in by a man who very much did not. That history matters, because it is the difference between a colleague and what Jeremy's cancer diagnosis revealed Kaleb actually is to him, not someone he employs, someone he trusts enough to tell first. Jeremy had known since May. He had attended a medical checkup, then disappeared for a biopsy. The result came back aggressive, but caught early. Surgery followed to remove the affected 10% of his prostate. And then, in the middle of filming a conversation about harvest logistics, he chose to say it out loud, not in private, not away from the cameras, not in a controlled setting with time for everyone to prepare, but right there, in front of the crew, mid-sentence, to the 2 people sitting next to him. That was his choice. And that choice tells you something important. Kaleb did not find out in advance. He did not get a phone call the night before. He found out in the same breath the cameras did, which means his reaction in that scene is not a performance of shock. It is the real thing, captured because nobody had the chance to prepare for it. The season finale showed Jeremy in a hospital bed, speaking openly about his recovery. He confirmed the surgery had been complicated. Some of the treatment had gone sideways. He did not know yet what the outcome would be. And then he said something that nobody watching was ready for. If this is all successful, I'll see you for season 6. And if it isn't, I won't. Take care, everyone. On the same day those episodes dropped, Kaleb sat down and spoke to the press. And what he said is worth hearing in full, because it is the most honest thing said publicly about any of this. He started simply. Jeremy is good. The spirits are high. Not reassurance dressed up to sound bigger than it is. Not a managed statement from someone trying to protect a brand. A direct answer to the question everyone watching was actually asking. And then he said this. If anything like this happens to any of your friends, and you just said to my best mate, you've got to be supported through that whole journey. And that's where I've been. I've been right by his side. Best mate. Not co-star. Not employer. Best mate. That is the word Kaleb chose, unprompted, about a man twice his age who started out as his most demanding client. And that single word quietly dismantles 5 seasons of television that spent most of its time making their relationship look like a comedy routine. He also said Jeremy was strong-minded, that he had a strong mind on him, which is good. Coming from anyone else, that might sound like a platitude, Coming from the person who watched Jeremy's face change in real time when he said those words out loud for the very first time, it reads like an honest assessment from someone who has actually had to measure it, day by day, on the ground. And then Kaleb did something that deserves to be said plainly. He did not let the moment stay about Jeremy alone. He turned it outward, toward everyone listening. The message about catching anything early is quite important. That is the main thing. But you have got to keep checking. People can sit there and say, I am busy, busy, busy. But actually, sometimes you have just got to stop and ask yourself, am I okay? That is not a line written by a publicist. That is a 27-year-old who has now watched 2 people on this exact farm go through the same diagnosis. Both times, the only reason the story had a chance of ending well was because something was caught in time. Because this was not the first time the word cancer had arrived at Diddley Squat, while Kaleb was standing there. 2 seasons earlier, Jeremy received a phone call while filming elsewhere on the farm. He turned to the crew and said, Gerald's got cancer. Oh, sure. Gerald Cooper, the beloved dry stone wall specialist with the West Country accent that half the country had fallen in love with, had been diagnosed with prostate cancer during Series 3. Kaleb was there. He watched Gerald step back from the farm for treatment. He watched the whole team hold its breath. And then, the following year, Gerald confirmed he had come through it, and that is partly why his response leaned towards steadiness rather than panic. He already knew, better than most people watching that clip, that the outcome depends almost entirely on one thing, catching it in time. And now, here is the part of this story that most people sharing that viral clip do not know yet. Just days after those Season 5 episodes dropped, Jeremy posted a video to Instagram. He opened with this. Now, the more observant among you will have noticed that I'm not dead. And I'm not just not dead. I'm perfectly fine. He is in remission. In an interview published shortly after, he said he had cheated death twice, once from the heart procedure he underwent in October 2024.
But it's just a blood test these days. And if you go to your doctor and he says, well, I'm not going to test you because you don't have any symptoms and you're not in a high-risk category, just lie. Just lie. Say you have got symptoms. Say that you have to get up 32 times in the night for a wee and that there's some dribbling. Because look, 10, 12,000 people, men, to be honest, men die every year in the UK from prostate cancer. Don't be one of them.
When 2 blocked coronary arteries were discovered and stents were fitted, and now from the cancer. He called himself, without any apparent irony, the world's luckiest man. He also confirmed that Season 6 of Clarkson's farm is already in production, and then he added a message for every man watching. He said he knew a lot of people would say they did not want to be tested, but that these days it is just a blood test, and that 12,000 men die every year in the UK from prostate cancer, and that they should not be one of them. Get tested. That is the full story. A man mid-sentence about a harvest, saying 4 words that changed the room. A face that could not hide anything. A best mate who showed up and stayed there. A farm that has now watched the same disease arrive twice, and both times because someone caught it early. Both times it ended with the person still standing. Gerald is cancer-free. Jeremy is in remission. Season 6 is filming. And somewhere on a farm in Oxfordshire, Kaleb Cooper is probably arguing with Jeremy about something completely mundane, exactly the way he always has, 10 minutes after the hard part, as if none of it ever happened. Because that is what you do with your best mate. If this video made you think about getting yourself checked, that is the whole point. That is what both of them are saying. Do not wait. Go and do it. We will see you in the next one.